Hey everybody, Josh here again with the Rage Real Estate team with another market update. Today we're going to talk about market seasonality. If you remember in our last report, we said we were guessing that we were heading into some seasonality. We couldn't tell for sure, the numbers weren't quite yet reflecting it, but just from what we were hearing in the marketplace, we were guessing we were going to enter into a typical seasonal shift. And sure enough, it seems like we are heading into that. So what is seasonal shift? It's a combination of things: increased inventory, fewer buyers, which result in less aggressive bidding wars, and more price reductions. And if we start to see those things happening, we know that we're in a seasonal shift. Now, this seasonal shift almost always happens right around this time of year. Last year was an anomaly. Last year, it didn't happen. So if you look at this chart, you can see a steady decline in our average daily inventory. Typically, that decline happens in the spring, and then it starts to pick back up June and July as homes stay on the market longer. They come onto the market overpriced. Buyers don't snap them up right away. And so this is what we often see. Last year was an anomaly. COVID kind of messed it up. We went all the way from March and April of last year to now with no seasonal shift, no uptick in our average daily inventory until last month. Last month, at the end of this decline, we finally see things start to climb by 10%, which is actually pretty substantial and should be a sign that we're heading into a seasonal shift. Now, this is not cause to panic. A lot of the headlines out there will pick up on this fact and see that we're starting to enter into this shift, and they'll call it the end of the world, or they'll call it a crash, or they'll say the market is tanking. And that's not true. We're just heading into a normal, predictable seasonal shift. Secondly, fewer buyers. We should see, if we're heading into a seasonal shift, we should see fewer buyers by showing count, and we are. Showings were averaging about 20 per home, and now we're down to about 10 per home with the most recent data. That's not cause for alarm. That's entirely normal, and it's showing further evidence that we're headed into a seasonal shift. And then lastly, less aggressive bidding wars. We're kind of plateaued at 106% of list price, which is crazy to even say. Our average is 106% of list price. And you can see in this graph, you can see that was climbing or has been steadily increasing, and last month it plateaued. If I had to guess, I would guess that next month we're going to see a decline. We're going to see it drop down a little bit from 106% average. And that's just because this is the seasonal shift. So what's happening? If this is not bad news, what's actually happening? A couple of things are happening. This time of year is when we experience buyer fatigue. Buyers get tired of going out and looking at homes every weekend only to have their offers beat by somebody with cash. And so they pull back a little bit and they say, you know what, we're going to take a break. We're going to take the summer off. A second thing is vacations. This time of year, people don't want to spend the weekend so much looking at homes. They want to spend the nice, warm, smoky weekends up in the mountains, enjoying the mountains. And so vacations kind of fall into place this time of year and things just slow down. And it almost, with last year being the only exception, it almost always happens this time of year. So, why does this matter? It's kind of like a speed trap. You can be cruising along at 100 miles an hour and not see the speed trap ahead of you, and if you cruise through that thing, you're going to get a ticket. And oftentimes you don't realize that until you look in your rearview mirror and see the lights in your rearview mirror. The way that works in real estate is the rear view mirror is getting to your first or second week on the market, not getting the showings that you expected, not getting the multiple offers, and it's because you're priced too high. And so if this is a seasonal shift, we should also see price reductions on homes, because we should see agents pricing homes just like they would have priced them in April, and that not working because we're in a seasonal shift. And sure enough, we have seen the number of price reductions double. And so that's another sign that we're entering into this season where buyers are cooling off. There's not so many showings. There's not as many offers. And sellers are getting nervous. They're pricing their homes too high, and now they have to reduce them. So we went from 5% to 11% of homes requiring a price reduction. Home prices overall are remaining kind of steady this month. We're not seeing a huge spike from last month. There's still around $436,000 for an attached home and $723,000 for detached, which is pretty close to where we were last month. And we're expecting to sort of probably plateau there. We're not expecting to continue this skyrocket. Now, why that is good news, why market seasonality is good news, is we need a breather. If you were running a race and you got to what you thought was the finish line and then realized you had another 25 miles to go, you'd be extremely discouraged and you might just opt out altogether. The pace at which we've been running for this last 12 to 16 months is unsustainable for any market. And without a normal cyclical market adjustment, we would crash. The market would crash. It could not sustain what we've experienced over the past year. So the fact that we're returning to some sort of normalcy, we're getting a chance to catch our breath as a real estate market overall is a good thing and will be good for the market. So if you're a buyer right now, may be a good time to come down from the mountains and look at some homes, because you may have a better experience than you were experiencing last month or even a couple of months ago. And if you're a seller, you're getting ready to enter the market, keep seasonality in mind. Don't look at what your neighbors got for their home in April. Let's talk about where you should price your home in order to get the price that you're ultimately looking for. And we can have that conversation. So whether you're a buyer or a seller, we would love to talk to you more about this. If you got questions, feel free to reach out, and we would be happy to get with you and put a plan together that would match the seasonality with what you're trying to accomplish. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.